Yeah. Okay. So you were talking about the therapist telling you that you can't control your emotions, or you're not in charge of your emotions, or there's nothing you can do about your emotions. And your response was, why did nobody tell me this? It's a really fantastic revelation to have, because it's so simple that you've been.
Kids have got back. Okay, I have to. I can't do any more because the kids are here.
Okay,
So
bye.
let's do it next time. Okay. Bye.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Okay. Bye. So, choosing yourself is hard when you don't know how to do it, and when you've got all the plates spinning. You've got your job, you've got your home, you've got your tasks, you've got your kids, you've got your health, your hobbies, whatever it is you're doing. How do you reconcile choosing yourself and continuing to spin all the plates?
Are you asking me? That's a tough one, because it's not like I've found that fighting doing things is not helpful. So for me, I guess the first question is, how do you stop fighting internally with all of the things that you think you have to do? So like, what's a good example? Have you got one?
Yeah.
Think of one right now. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me give you a story. So 2022 was the year in which I just was going down internally, and I was able to keep the plate spinning. And that was very important to me because it provided some structure on the outside. So it was just after COVID, and I was going into work 5 days a week, mainly to provide myself with that structure. Just get up, do family stuff, get out the door, get on the train, go to work, do work, come home, do family stuff, collapse.
Mm-hmm.
So that was keeping the plate spinning, and it gave me structure. And some of the things gradually through 2022, as I was working into my own I don't even know what the word is, abyss, I suppose. I had to become conscious of which plates I could keep spinning and which I couldn't. So I started simplifying my life. And one example that comes to mind is me going to work. So I used to get a annual ticket for the train, so I wouldn't have to get a ticket every day. And if you go often, it's cheaper. And as I said, I was going in 5 days a week. but it was too much for me to even get
Mm-hmm.
an annual ticket because it was extra clicks on the ticket machine. So
Mm-hmm.
every day I went into work, I just got the daily
Mm-hmm.
ticket. And I just couldn't bring myself to get to go over the effort of getting the annual ticket. And I did that for, I think, 2 years. And I walked past that ticket machine 5 days a week and I'd look at it and think, I can't get the annual ticket. It's too much. I'll just
Mm-hmm.
get the daily
Mm-hmm.
ticket.
Mm-hmm.
Because the weight of keeping all the plates spinning while simultaneously going through the grief, while simultaneously trying to find through a way of the pain that I described a little bit in the last episode. It was too much. So it was like an optimization step in a way.
Was it that you like to look into the future? Like you're in so much pain right now that to imagine any time outside of now is like extra pain. So I could imagine standing in your shoes, having the very visceral feeling of thinking about the future, even tomorrow, let alone in a year from now, and feeling completely overwhelmed by the very idea that I'm going to feel this way tomorrow. I'm going to feel this way next year. And I will be doing this same thing 1 year from now. Because this, I mean, I don't want to be in this. This isn't sitting on the train. It's the idea that nothing will change and I'll have gone nowhere and I will still be stuck with myself. And being stuck with myself right now is agony.
I mean, there's there's a lot in that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot that I agree with that kind of view. It was simultaneously, you know, if you're really in pain, it's the only thing.
Yeah.
It like consumes your whole being. It's the only thing you can think about. The pain
Yeah.
is so
Exactly.
loud. My internal state
Do
was
you
so
think?
loud. It was like the megaphones were going off inside me all day and all night. But anyway, in those moments, it was more like simultaneously in the moment, which was painful, thinking about the future, which I couldn't imagine without the pain, and the unknown middle part of how on earth is this? What? Again, at that point, I was looking on the outside. What do I have to do to make this stop? And I knew that getting the season ticket wasn't going to make it stop. So I just couldn't do it. It just seemed to be pointless. But
Was there anything that wasn't focusing directly on trying to find the solution?
no, there was nothing. There was no part of me that was left over for anything other than trying to understand and remove the pain.
Was it
But
was it a matter of managing?
yes, and this is what I wanted to get at. The management, because we use the word, I think, distraction. You distract yourself from wanting to feel the pain. Like you don't want to go into it. That's how we described before. If you're in loops and as you dig down into them, there's some aversion. But when you're really in it, the things that were your aversion actually become helpful. So on the one hand, the weight of spinning the plates, or it was for me anyway, like the weight of spinning the plates was so heavy. But on the other hand, they gave me structure. I could structure my life around them. So I kind of got to the feeling, it got to the point where I realized that some of the things that I'd been using as distractions Like work is a classic one. Because you can say to yourself, well, if I get up, I go to work, I do a good job, I come home, I bring the money home, everything's fine. I should feel good about myself. Therefore, I don't need to think about all the bad stuff because I'm doing my job. I'm playing the provider role, and that's great. But maybe that's hiding some stuff you need to deal with. It's a distraction. But then when I was in the pain, I could reframe it. I say, oh, well, I'm in so much pain. There should be some good in this somehow. I need to find a way of managing it. So going to work is a structure. It helps me fill my day, because if I was just at home staring at the wall, I don't know how I would even contemplate getting through the day. It was a bit like that.
So you have these loops, but they're kind of open loops, aren't they? There's no closing of them.
Open loops, yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
Because it sounds almost completely unrelated. I don't want to take anything away from your story, but I realized that in our household, there are a lot of open loops, like task-based loops, which is still, it's the same thing, whether it's the washing or, yeah, the dishwasher or cleaning up or whatever it is, especially with two small children. There's never like, there's that like again. There is not built into our daily structure closed loops. And closing loops is something that helps to regulate your emotions. So having systems in place that are self-contained.
So when you say closed loop and open loop, are you talking about the task, like just the job doesn't get done? Or are you talking about the emotional thing that's happening underneath?
I mean, an open loop can be as big as, if you want to call it big, the fact that you get up every day and go to work every day. And there's just this open loop cycle of that just doesn't end. And it's the same, well, seemingly doesn't end.
Right, I see what you mean.
And there's also open loops of like, that you could necessarily close with like household tasks. Whereby, like, for example, like the washing. It's never going to end. You ensure that you have, like things always in motion, and always going towards their goal. So if you have, dirty washing, it doesn't go on the floor. It never touches the floor. It's not left somewhere for you to do later. It goes in the washing basket, right? Or, you never leave anything open. You never put a pen down thinking, oh, I'll put it in my pencil case later. It's as simple as that, but that magnifies to a crazy extent everywhere. And what is coming to distraction? So this is super important, because it's like, it's that mundane, but it's exactly what everyone's doing or what I'm doing. And that is the distraction. The distraction is like, I'm solving a problem now. I'm, getting a pen out of my pencil case to sign something, and I put my pen down and I walk off. And I have seemingly closed the loop of needing to sign something, but I have not closed the full cycle. And it's the same with getting yourself ready in the morning, where you leave your crap on the floor as you rush out the door, right? And you're not creating space to notice this it really is a lack of self-love. I really see it that way.
So let me try and make it a bit more concrete. So I don't want to live my life
Yeah.
looking at things, thinking everything I look at is a job half done. Like,
Yeah,
a book over there, quote unquote, shouldn't be there, and that is represents a job half done, and therefore there's an
it's your
emotional
spinning plates. It's your spinning
baggage.
plates. And you are intentionally leaving those plates spinning because you are trying to match. And I think it's two separate things. Or rather, it's really fun to imagine that it is two separate things. You're not stressed because you're leaving your book lying around or your pen or your washing's on the floor. You're stressed and you are going out into the world, creating the situations, pushing that emotion out into the world by placing things where they don't need to be or starting fights with people that you don't really have to or whatever it is, because you are trying to match your outer and inner state. You're creating an outer state that matches your inner state.
But let me be clear, I'm not doing that. So when you say you mean the one does it, right? I think that,
Yeah,
yeah. Yeah.
the
So I
royal
look,
you.
so these days I look at that differently because like I said, I don't want to live in a world where everything looks like a job half done. So
Yeah.
there's a part of me that has to let go of the idea that anyone should be in any particular place. Now I am
Yeah.
most of the time, not all the time, but I like jobs to have an end, as you say. Things belong in certain places. And it's not always like that when you live in a household of
Well,
multiple people.
that's the other side of the coin. So it's not about being neurotic on the other side of things. It's not about being someone who is therefore going to be someone who likes to have all their loops closed,
Mm-hmm.
who gets jobs done. Because the person who needs to get jobs done is just fighting the person who doesn't get jobs done.
What about if there's another angle, like the emotional loop? So let's say you need to get ready.
It's all an emotional loop. But okay, yeah.
The emotional loop of the person who is leaving stuff lying around. Maybe that emotional loop is a closed loop.
Maybe that person doesn't have a problem.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the person with the problem. Which is the person who likes to have closed loops, watching the person who doesn't have closed loops, seemingly,
Yeah.
from the perspective of someone who likes to get a job done.
Right. So
which can be two different people, or they can be the same person. It can be your idea of your mother in your head versus your idea of you in your head,
mm-hmm.
or it can be you versus your spouse, which you could argue is the same thing.
So what is it that you would get if all of the jobs were done in a closed fashion? What is it that you want?
Oh, that's powerful because it is permission to rest.
Right.
Permission to show self-love. can't do it until everything's done.
So is it one of these spinning plates?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
the plate spinning, because you can't see. Well, what was it that you couldn't see? What was it that you were doing with your spinning plates?
The spinning plates were just the emotional. It was the underlying emotion is the actual spinning plate. It's the loop. The weight of the tasks achieves this
Is
weight
zero.
because of the emotional loop. Because in the end, I'm still spinning all of those plates and I'm in a completely different space because I dealt with the emotional part.
And the really, again, sounds ridiculous, but the really powerful thing for me is to realize that you're either doing one thing or another at any one point in time.
Your time is always filled.
The time is always filled, sure, by doing one thing or another. And you can call X resting, and you can call Y hard work, right? You're sitting on a chair on your phone, looking at something, looking at pictures of things to distract yourself emotionally, or you're standing in front of a screen at a train station and you're clicking buttons to get a ticket out. What's the difference? Like, from a procedure point of view, nothing. There's no
From an
difference.
emotional point of view, humongous.
From an emotional point of view, it's crazy. But if you see that at any one point in time, you can either be cleaning or not, or doing something else, then the one that's doing the cleaning, the one that's buying the ticket, or the one that's not buying the ticket, is the one that's overwhelmed. But you're doing plenty of other things that are looking at screens. I mean, your entire job is looking at screens all day, clicking buttons. The difference is zero procedurally. So once you realize that what you're doing has got nothing to do with how you feel about it, it's completely separate, then you can cut any idea, and then you can look at your thoughts and be like, I'm the one that always does XYZ. I'm the one that has to do this. I've got too many things. There's too much. I feel overwhelmed because I've got too many things to do. But that, again, is just a thought. So the plate spinning is the emotional overwhelm. That's all it is. There aren't any plates spinning. There's things that you're doing, and you're attaching an emotion to it, which is an entirely separate thing. So what are you getting out of? So what is that survival strategy? The survival strategy is stay in overwhelm. Why do you want to stay in overwhelm? What are you getting out of it?
I've got a story.
All right.
So you shared the image of your story around coming to terms with the fact that your eldest child, your daughter, is disabled, and the image that you shared was, or just give a quick summary of the image. You'll say it better than I can.
Sure. So the image was I don't know whether it was holding, I think, a rope tied to me, essentially. And that rope has a weight on the other end of it, and the weight on the other end of it is someone else who, which I didn't mention last time, who has essentially jumped, but they're in this kind of state of obviously knowing that they have the rope around them attached to me. So they're kind of trying to get me to jump too, in a way. And they're like, so it's kind of this strange position of being told to jump by someone who has jumped, but in a safe way, in a strange way, by someone who like has done it without actually there being any consequence, but wanting me to jump, essentially, or wanting me to give permission for them in the jump that they've made to the abyss, and me standing there with concrete around my feet, trying to hold on, and I can't move. I can't go forwards. I can't jump, but I also can't do anything. So I felt just the
Right.
feeling of being
Right.
completely stuck, being told jump, but I can't jump, and I can't save them either, because, you know. So there was only one thing to do, which is to cut the rope.
Wow. Wow. That's super powerful.
Yeah, and cutting the rope was choosing life.
Let's stay with this because you used a word this time that you described it. I don't think you described last time, but it was the same word you used to describe your old lifestyle. And that is, or phrase, your feet are in concrete. Is there a link?
Did I?
Yeah.
When did I say that? Maybe it was just because I had that image in my head of that. Maybe. Yeah, it's kind of the freeze response to I think it's a response to, or rather, it's kind of a clear seeing, but you don't realize that you're seeing things clearly when you have that feeling, because the feeling is kind of overwhelm. So it's like, no matter what I do, it's going to be wrong, which I think a lot of people have, right? So, you get that with parental figures who always are disappointed in you. I think that I still have a lot of that today, where I think I'm quite obtuse, or rather I'm told I'm quite obtuse. And I think people struggle to understand what I'm talking about a lot of the time, because I tend to get quite philosophical quite quickly. And that leads to quite a lot of rejection. People telling me that I need to live in the real world, which I find hilarious because, well, anyway, maybe that's the story for another time. But yeah, feeling stuck. And then you say to yourself, like, oh, no matter what I do, I can't do anything. Like, nothing here is working. Like, if I do this, my parents are angry at me, or my spouse is angry at me. If I do that, they're angry with me. If I do nothing, they're angry with me. If I say I want to talk about it, they don't want to talk about it. Whatever it is, you find yourself, and it can be with yourself, right? But it's kind of easier to see when it's with someone else in life where there's nowhere to go. And you're trying to understand a situation. You're trying to understand a situation. But there's nothing to understand. Like, you can never work out what's going on and why. And how you're telling yourself the truth is in that feeling of being stuck. You know there's no way out, but you're resisting it.
What I find fascinating with the way that you described that was that super powerful image of you being stuck. So evocative in a way of like how you described your previous existence, where you were, keeping yourself safe. But in that moment, it helped you choose life. I find that super fascinating. It's because the way you described it that second time, with your feet in concrete, you couldn't jump into the abyss. Your only option was to cut the cord and choose life.
Yeah, there's no way out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
choosing life is choosing complete uncertainty.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is choosing the complete unknown.
And you said, your question to me earlier was, or a question that you raised, it wasn't to me directly, was why live in the overwhelm? And then I wanted to share that whereas you had this image of like not wanting to go into the abyss and like cutting the cord, whereas my approach to the whole thing was to grab the cord and jump. So there was no one else on the other end of it. I just went down into that thing. I chose the overwhelm.
Yeah.
I chose to go into the overwhelm in those years, 2022, 2023, 2024, because I'd been sick of living near or, in a kind of, I was sick of living in a way where I was constantly running away from the overwhelm. So my whole life, I had been avoiding feeling what was down there. And I just didn't want to do it anymore. It was down there and through for me. It wasn't, I didn't really feel like going away from it was an option, and choosing life. For me, choosing life was to go in there and keep as
Well, I mean, it's
many
similar
plates
imagery,
spinning.
but I wouldn't say it's any different. But yeah. Like I wouldn't, if I were you, I wouldn't use my imagery and my analogy and then say, oh, my approach was to jump in, because it was a different hole. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah.
I guess so. Is it not the overwhelm?
No, because I wasn't rejecting.
What weren't you rejecting?
You see what I mean? Like, so the imagery, you can use similar imagery, but it's not like I saw overwhelm and was like, no, I don't want that. It was facing death. In facing death, I chose life. So it was not a rejection. It was a clear seeing that there was no way out.
No way out of what?
Anything. There's no way out. There's the seeking for a way out is the thing that traps you. That is the cage that you're in. Is the seeking for the solution to, what do I do about this abyss that I'm in, or this abyss that I want to jump in, that I'm being told I should jump into, right? So that's where, for me, it was a shortcut, quite literally and figuratively, a shortcut to what happens when you stop. So what I would say is, there's the shadow work, which is what you're talking about. You're talking about shadow work. I'm talking about the end of seeking.
Right. Because
So
that's
that's
the
two
thing that has
very different
really
things.
separated us through the last 4
Exactly.
years. Because
Yes.
you had the end of seeking at the beginning.
And then I've been jumping in the hole.
And I went in
So
the
like I
hole at
said
the
at the beginning.
beginning, and then I did
Exactly.
the shadow work at the beginning, and then I got the end of seeking at the end, which was just a month ago, just before. It's starting to make a bit more sense now, because when I was grieving, you kept telling me, I don't understand you. There's no, there are no problems. There's nothing you will find. Whereas and that made me feel so
Sounds like
alone,
sounds,
so
yeah.
crushingly
Yeah.
alone, that pushed me deeper into
Oh
the loneliness, because you weren't there for me anymore. Like, you'd just gone.
no. Yeah.
You'd just completely gone.
Yeah.
In some sense, to me, that's how it felt. And
Gone.
this awful feeling of being abandoned by my brother.
Really? God.
Yeah, it was really, really bad. It was really difficult to deal with. But then what it did was highlighted to me the father figure role dynamics that we spoke about before. Before that, I didn't really see it so clearly, but when you weren't there, it came up. It was like, hang on, our relationship isn't what I thought it was. He's not there. What does it mean? And it pushed me deeper. I think as well that these things you can't, it's just how it happens. You can't plan it. We're talking about plates spinning. We're talking about tasks. We're talking about overwhelm. The truth is, it's just messy. You don't know what's what in the moment. You just start piecing things together
But it's
as you
messy,
learn.
but it's the mind that's making it messy, Gaz. That's the thing. Uh,
I know
like
this, and
yes.
it's it feels messy because before, your mind was creating your life to feel not messy, because you had everything under control, because you were living according to survival rules that keeps everything locked down and nice and ordered, and the pen always ends up in the pencil case. The bills always get
Yeah.
paid. The minute that starts cracking, the mind makes it feel messy, and the overwhelm starts.
Yeah.
And depending on how you manage to get through the overwhelm, you arrive back at, you can arrive back to how you were before in terms of which plates you have spinning, but the emotional underpinning can be completely different, much calmer, much more peaceful, much less. The plates are no longer heavy.
So I think, okay, so just, I'll bring it back now for once. So you went into the abyss and were doing what we've called shadow work, which is a specific term. And in that shadow work, or in that time, you felt like I wasn't there anymore. What does it mean to you to say that I wasn't there?
Very specific. It's very, very specific.
Yeah.
It's everything I was saying to you was me trying to say, I need help. And everything you said to me was perceived to me, no.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I couldn't say, no, I need help. I couldn't say it. I didn't say it to you. I didn't say it to our
You didn't.
mother. I
You
didn't say it
didn't.
to my
Because
friends.
I was during that time, I was almost oblivious to all of this. I think that's another thing to say. Like, I realized there was something going on, but you didn't really talk to me. So it's not like, or when you were telling me stuff, I didn't really understand what was happening with you.
You weren't there for me when I needed you.
Mm-hmm.
And looking back, I was looking for someone you were not.
Yeah.
And the me that was looking, I didn't want anymore anyway.